Hi, my name is Brittany, and this is my channel, Pineapple Grease. Like and subscribe and all that jazz. And today we're gonna be talking about Beastars, the anime. And I don't usually talk about anime, but season 2 just came out, and I was so excited. It was so good, and I just want to talk about it. There were some weird things, um, but I don't know. I kind of just want to talk about the anime in general, but also especially season 2. I actually watched season 1 only like 2 weeks ago. I was slow to watch it. I don't watch that much anime. I mostly read manga these days, but it was just so good. And then I was so excited because season 2 was only like a week away after I watched the first season. So I got to just kind of watch one, and then I had a short little break, and then I could just watch all of the other one. And it was lovely. So I'm just stoked to talk about it. If you don't know what Beastars is about, it's like basically a world where everybody's animals, and there's like controversy between the carnivores and the herbivores because, you know, carnivores eat herbivores, and so there's this whole big struggle of how to make that work in society and like trying to get them on vegetarian diets and like fight their instincts or whatever. And our main character is a wolf, and so he's kind of struggling with this. And then there's also like the hot rabbit girl, and yeah. And so it's really great. It's set in like a high school setting, and there's like the drama club and all sorts of really cool stuff, and there's like violence, and it's pretty good. If you haven't seen it, I really recommend you go and watch it. I was very hesitant to watch season 1 because the animation, it's got like this weird like CGI 3D-ish thing going on a little bit, and I was like, ew, it looks so ugly, but I really quickly got over it. It was like, oh no, it actually looks really good. And they do so many artistic-y things with the animation, like, I don't know, the cinematography type stuff that they do all these like, I don't, really artistic type things. Like, they'll show you, I don't know, the people will just be outlines or whatever sometimes, and that'll be really cool. And then sometimes they'll show the people inside the heads of the other people when they're like thinking about them and stuff like that. Like, it just has a lot of really interesting I don't know, camera angles, and just like the animation that they do is very artistic at times, and I really like appreciated that a lot. And I don't know, it took me like 2 seconds to get into it, but then once I was into it, I was like so in. I was so ready for it. And it's only got the 2 seasons. It's like 8 hours total, I think. So that's really short if you want to just watch the whole thing. I do think that binging is the way to go with it, and with it coming out on Netflix, it's just so perfect for that, where you can just watch the whole thing. And yeah, and it was really nice to have season 1 where I could just watch 4 hours of season 1, and then season 2 came out and I could just watch all 4 hours of season 2 all at once. It was perfect, and I was so happy. And another thing though, I actually watched this anime dubbed, which I almost never watch dubs anymore. I used to be like back in, I don't know, like elementary school and middle school, I was like all about dubs. I was like, subs are not for me. I don't want to read. Reading, stupid. Not like that, but like I was like, if I'm gonna watch TV, I want to watch it. I don't want to have to read subtitles. So I used to watch everything dubbed. And then I think when I went to high school, that's when I started to be like, oh, actually subbed is a lot better usually. And usually it is. But the dubbed just started like playing as from the start. I guess my Netflix was just like wanted to be on dubbed setting or something, because I don't usually watch anime. So it's like, oh, you like English? Dubbed, here you go. And I heard Legoshi's voice and was like, oh, it's so good. So really, I watched the dubbed because Jonas Scott, that the guy who voices Legoshi in the dub, is so good. Like, he is literally the only reason why I watched it dubbed, because it was just so good. Like, his voice is perfect for Legoshi, and especially it works so well because Legoshi, like, the majority of the story is so surrounded by him, and we're in his head a lot of the time, especially in season 1. It's like half of it at least is like taking place inside Legoshi's head. And so with Legoshi having this beautiful voice of Jonah Scott, who does an amazing job, like, it's just mwah, like chef's kiss, it's perfect. And it just made it worthwhile to watch in English. Like, English can be annoying, and some of the other voice actors weren't as good. Everyone did a great job, but like, Legoshi, Jonah Scott, amazing. Like, he did so good. It was perfect. Ooh. Oh. So I really recommend I'm sorry, just let me just like fangirling over Jonah Scott's amazing performance, but it was really good. It was really, really good. So if you're one of those people that's kind of like me, who usually are like, dubs, not for me, like, subs are where it's at, I really recommend you give the dub a chance because it's so good. Like, his performance is amazing, and you should check it out. I really recommend it. But oh well, that aside, let's just jump into like spoilers and stuff. So if you haven't watched Beastars, maybe go away if you don't want to be spoiled, because we're just gonna jump into it and talk about all the things. But I don't know. Well, for one thing, Jonah Scott, we'll continue with that just a little bit, but he does such a good job voicing Legoshi, but also, and I think that adds a lot to Legoshi's character, but also just Legoshi, I think, is a really big reason of why I like this anime, because it is so focused on him, and he's just such a, like, he's like one of my favorite types of characters. Like, he's that dark, twisty kind of character that's like, has a lot of like struggles, but really wants to be good. And I just love that. And I think it's so sweet because, you know, it's easy to root for the good guy that's, I mean, not easy, but it's like kind of boring to root for the good guy that's just like, they're good and they just like don't have any struggles in the world, and they're just like happy good person who, you know, they're just like normal guy good person. But with Legoshi having to deal with this like desire to like eat the rabbit girl and stuff like that, like, he has like his demons on the inside, and the way that they do that scene is really good too, where it's like such the internal battle of like him trying to fight his impulses that are really bad. But then he also like, he cares so deeply about everything, and he's really like sensitive. I want to say, you know, like, he thinks about like, oh, like, he can think about it from the carnivore's angle, which a lot of like herbivores can't do as well, and he's like relates to them, and he's like, oh no, like, even when the person has killed someone, he still wants to like help them, which I think is really nice and kind of unique, because it would be so much easier to just be like, well, you're out the door, which I feel like he did, but he doesn't really do that. And it is partly because of his training with like Panda Guy, what's his name, Goheen. And Goheen is really cool, and so it's definitely part of that like training arc type stuff, that he's like learning how to be this weird like therapist to the carnivores. And so that's nice, but then he also can really empathize with the herbivores, even though he doesn't really understand what it's like to be like them, but like, he really cares about them, and he's like wants to protect them and stuff, and it's just really nice. So Legoshi is really the reason that I love Beastars, and Jonah Scott brings so much to the table, so like, watch the dub. I really promise you will not regret it. But yeah, and I don't like I like a lot of the other characters. I don't really like Haru very much. I don't know, she's just like, her character's so weird, but I do think that she's good for Legoshi, because I don't know, I think Legoshi can empathize a lot with her, and how she has all these like bad rumors about her being kind of like the school slut or whatever, because I think this Legacy sort of relates to that, with being like a carnivore and being like someone that, you know, with being a carnivore and a really big wolf and being scary, you know, people kind of see him in a bad way too a lot of the time. And so I think he can empathize with her a lot with that. And even though they have completely different problems, they can definitely both come and like see eye to eye in that way, where they both have a similar, like, they're used to people talking crap about them and they're both kind of just like over it. And they're like, it's fine, I don't care. Like, they're both like very similar in that way, even though like Haru's always like, you can never understand me, but and Legoshi can't in like that specific way of like, yeah, I don't know what it's like to always be afraid that someone's gonna eat you, but like in the way that they're treated is kind of similar. But I don't know, I don't like her as much, and I do find, I don't know, the voice actress for her is, she's great, but like I just find her voice kind of annoying. But I do feel like it does kind of fit the character, but it also makes me like not like her as much, but I think I would never like her, so I don't think it's the voice actress's fault. But she doesn't compare to Legoshi, who's just amazing, and Jonah Scott, who just does such a good job. Like, Jonah Scott, I can't. Now I'm gonna be like, if I see like Jonah Scott and anything, I'm gonna be like, oh my goodness, it's Jonah Scott's voice. Though I wonder if it'll be hard to not be like, it's Legoshi. But yeah, I don't know. If you're out there and you ever see this, like, good job, Jonah Scott. I don't think you ever will, but feel free to reach out to me. I love you. You did so good. Now that it's just all creepy. Anyway, moving on. I can't keep talking about that. But yeah, season 1 I think was really good, especially like it felt much more like it was much more fast paced and put together. Season 2 was a little bit worse, I think, than season 1. I still really, really enjoyed it, but it was much slower and a little bit more like confusing about like, that's what's happening, okay, why? Like, I don't know, did you get that feeling? Like, it just felt like it dragged. Like, we have so long of Legoshi just doing like his training and stuff, which is cool and needs to happen. But I did not like white Legoshi for one, but it's whatever, it's fine. But no, it just felt like he was like doing his training and stuff and things were kind of going very slow. And then it was strange because he finds out that Riz, the big bear guy, killed Tem, and then I feel like just like 3 episodes go by where we just don't talk about it again. And I was confused, like, what? We just found this out and we're not just gonna like immediately do something about it or like go to the cops or whatever. But then I guess it makes sense because he like decides that he's gonna try and do this like rehabilitation training and he doesn't want to just send him off to the cops to be like his whole life ruined, which is good, I think, to some extent, because he can relate to him. But then at the same time, with everything we see from Riz, where he's like weirdly romanticized this experience with Tem, makes me like, maybe we should just send him to the cops. Like, I don't like him. Like, he's crazy. And maybe that's just how it is when you go crazy, and then he does sort of figure it out by the end, but like, I don't know. I was kind of like, let's just get him out of here. And but I don't know. I do think that the introduction of the new freshman goat guy, what was his name? Peanut. I do think that the introduction of Peanut's character was really good. Like, he sort of fills the void of Louis, in that he like comes and helps out Legoshi in the like, easy, like brush it off type of way. And that's sort of what Louis used to always do too, so that helps. And he seems like kind of a fun character, even though he's awful. And I love how much Legoshi just like hates him. Like, we have that scene where he's just like, never before have I felt such hatred for someone else. Like, oh my gosh, this guy is the worst. Oh, and I thought that was funny, and I don't know, it's like, it makes sense how their personalities clash, because Legoshi has such a strong sense of justice and morals and what's right and what's wrong, and Peanut's like, everyone kind of decides that for themselves, so it's not a big deal type of thing, which, like, completely contrary to how Legoshi's, like, living his whole life to try and, like, be a good person and fight his instincts and, like, do what's right and stuff, so it's just kind of funny. But also, Louis during this whole, I don't know what's going on with Louis during this, where he's become the head of the bad guys that eat the deer, like the animals, the Shinigami or something like that. But I don't know. He's just become the head of the lions, the head of the lions. And it's sort of depressing, but then at the same time, I don't like, it's just weird that they're like, this is the great idea. We're gonna make this high schooler the head of our crime organization. That makes sense. Which feels strange, but then it does work well for them. And also, he's like really good at being a leader, so like it does work. But then it's also messed up how he starts eating animals, but he's like sort of put in a hard position, so then you can understand it. And then it was so sad because that one lion was actually such a great guy, the guy right under him, Ibuki. He's like so sweet, and like he's ready to take care of him, and he really wants to make sure he puts everyone else in line and is like, no, we're following the boss, like he's important. And he like starts to like empathize with him a lot and is like trying to get him to like eat, you know, vegetables and stuff, because he's not supposed to eat meat like your idea. And it's just so sad, and it's so sad that he dies, and it makes Louis so sad. But Louis has to go and see Legoshi. Oh, and also Legoshi's moment in his dress was pretty funny, especially when the one guy, the Ibuki, sees him and he's like, "Oh, that is one hideous woman." And he's like, "Oh, the boss has bad taste." Like, oh. But no, the ending, like, didn't make a lot of sense to me. It was really weird. And I got that it was because, you know, Legoshi's trying to sort of like counsel Riz. Like, he doesn't really want to fight him. He sort of wants to just try and get him to like chill out and realize the error of his ways, and like try to get him on this program to like growth or whatever. But it was weird. And it was really cute. I did like when they like stop in the middle and he tries to do his counseling type thing. Like, he really wants to help him. But then the part that was weird was just the part with Louis, and having Louis come and be like, "Here, eat my leg. Thanks." And like, yeah, I guess he gets rid of the brand on your foot, so that's nice. You can start over in that way, and that's why you're like, "Here, eat my number 4. You've freed me." But like, it was so awkward because he eats his leg, which, first of all, I thought he was never gonna do that, so it feels like we're gone backwards instead of forwards, but I guess it was what he had to do. I don't know. But it was just weird because it's like after he eats his leg, it's like the fight just kind of ends basically immediately. And I guess it ends because he sees their bond with that and stuff, but it just makes it feel like, did you really have to eat his leg then if the fight was just gonna be over? Like, right away after you eat it? Like, oh my gosh, they hardly even like throw punches after that. It's just kind of like Riz realized like, and then the cops come. So I was really like, oh, did you have to make Louis lose his leg? Like, now he has no leg. Like, okay, cool. And it's just kind of weird. And like, she's all like, you're gonna, part of you lives on in me. Also, it was weird with the the bug. He eats the caterpillar that's gonna become a moth, and has that whole like experience which teaches him about like valuing life, but then it's kind of weird because he has to learn about it through like killing something. But what was really weird is how the moths sort of like take over and like attack Riz but I think that was just for like artistic purposes, because it's just like Legoshi's like power comes from that understanding of the importance of life or whatever, and from this moth creature. But it felt a little weird when it happened. I was like, wait, what? Like, it's very anime, but it's just like we haven't really had anything like that exactly up to this point, so it felt a little like, oh, okay. But it was still good. And I don't know, the ending threw me off, because now Legoshi's like eaten part of his friend, and Legoshi has like sort of a criminal record because of this, and I don't know. And then I don't know what happens to Riz. Like, does he go to jail? Because they talk to the cops, so it sounds like probably, yeah, because you just murdered your friend before. And I don't know. Well, it was weird that in season 1, we, like, never really talk, like, we talk about, like, oh no, there's a murderer, but we literally don't do anything about it. We're like, let's go do our drama club. Who cares that our friend was murdered? I mean, not like that, but, like, they just don't do anything about it. Like, I sort of thought Legoshi should have maybe looked for the murderer more back then. And I do think it's weird that the creepy security guard that seems to have a thing for Legoshi, the 6 eyes snake lady, she's like giving him the mission to find the criminal. Because that makes sense. You're like, I can't find him. 17-year-old kid. I choose you because you're really hot. Like, it just felt like she was coming on to him, and it was really creepy. Because this is like the full-grown security guard lady, creepy snake. And also, it's just like, why would you give this job to one of the kids? But okay. And then, like, she doesn't do a great job of investigating beforehand until Riz attacks him. Like, Riz attacking him is really, like, what ruins it for Riz. Like, it was probably not a great move. Because Legoshi was doing horrible until he gave him that clue. Where he, like, kisses him, sort of, like, licks the inside of his mouth and stuff to get his scent and whatnot. But yeah, so if he hadn't done that, then Legoshi would have never found him, because Legoshi was doing terrible at investigating. But whatever. I think season 2 is still really good. It was a little bit slower than season 1. It was a little bit more weird. The ending was a little weird. We also saw, like, none of Legoshi and Haru. Their relationship is kind of, like, so strange right now, where they're just kind of, like, weirdly friends, but sort of more than friends. And then Legoshi sort of stops talking to her for a while because he's like, she's still into Louis, and she says she's not, so she's like, it's not fair, why are you doing this to me? And then he just like ignores her for a long time, and then she'll just like appear and be like, hey, so you've just been ignoring me. And then he throws out the, like, we should just get married instead. Like, let's get married. And she's like, shouldn't we, like, date first before we get married? And he's like, well, we're not gonna get married right away. We're gonna get married in the future. And she's like, but still, why are you jumping to marriage? Why are we not, like, gonna date? And he's like, well, other people do that, but, like, we don't have to. And it's such a, like, Legoshi type of thing to do, because he's such a, like, idealist and whatnot. Like, I don't know. But it feels like such a thing that so many weird anime characters and, like, manga people do, where they just so quickly jump to, like, oh my gosh, let's get married. And I don't understand. And I guess teen things in general, they often have characters that are, like, wanting to get married weirdly very young, so maybe it's not that weird, but it's just kind of weird. But oh well. Season 2, it was great. It was a little slow, and we didn't get much of our, like, romance aspect of it, and also it was a little strange. The ending was strange. It's nice that Louis is maybe come back. Also, Legoshi is leaving school now, though, is what he says. And anytime a character is like, I'm gonna quit school, I'm always like, no, don't do it, you're in high school. You need to graduate high school. Like, no, don't quit school. So we'll see how that goes, but maybe it'll be more interesting. And I don't know. And I guess Haru's, like, 3rd year, so she's gonna be done school now too, so maybe we'll see life in, like, the real world more. Maybe he'll go live with the panda. The last time he was gonna quit school, he left for, like, a day, and then he came back, so we'll see if he actually quit school. I'm really excited to see what comes next. I actually, like, ordered the manga because I'm so in love with the story, and I want to, like, read more and know what happens. And also, I just feel like it'll be nice to see it in a different way. And I'm so excited. And also, just remember, watch the dubbed. Jonah Scott. He's out there. He's great. Doing great things. Great work for the people. And yeah, subscribe and stuff. Have a nice day. Okay, bye.